What's up, core reporters, and welcome back to my channel. It's time for a recap of what went down on the last 2 episodes of Teen Mom Next Chapter because your girl is behind. Per usual, I watched the show using Philo, and I've got a link in the description box that you can use to sign up for an account and get to watching right alongside me. So why don't we start off with the episode where Leah breaks some shocking news about her father. He unfortunately was diagnosed with cancer, and then we find out that Jade got into a car accident as well. And Ryder, we get a little bit of an update about her heart monitor, and it seems as though her heart is, skipping a beat, but that's something that you knew already, but now she is hyper fixating it on it. And she seems to have a lot of anxiety about her heart health versus her heart really causing a lot more issues than they already knew that it caused. And then meanwhile, in Indiana, Gary and Christina meet up with an attorney to discuss the possibility of Christina adopting Leah. While at this appointment, they tell the lawyer that Amber has only seen Leah 4 times in the past year. So within 365 days, she's only seen the daughter 4 times, aka for 361 days, she hasn't seen the child. That's insane to me. And the fact that she's online calling Leah dramatic and saying that she's lying or this or that about her being an absentee parent is just a cherry on top of the cake. That is the foolishness of Amber Portwood. There's a little glimmer of hope here because in the previous episode, Gary and Christina and Leah, they all kind of said, hey, listen, Amber could, even despite the fact that she's not showing up for Leah, she could still, just to try to have a semblance of control or to stop this from happening, she would do whatever she could to block it. But there's a little bit of a glimmer of a hope because the attorney does say that Amber has technically already abandoned Leah by not really seeing her all that often in the past year, and also because she doesn't pay any child support for her. So it does look like this is something that can be potentially an open and shut case in as little as 60 days. However, I do not believe that they are going to go through with this. I think that this is just a storyline that they're using for the show. Are they lying about wanting to have Leah adopted by Christina? No, I think that they, Leah especially, want for this to happen, but I do not think that they will actually take the steps for this. I think that they will only get this adoption underway when Leah is an adult. That way there's like no risk of anything or outside forces or whatever coming between it. And it would be more so as a symbolic thing. I know I say this every season, but Jade's storylines are always just so damn depressing. It used to be her and Sean screaming and fighting, and then her and her mom screaming and fighting as well. But now she's got her car crash, which is just absolutely traumatic and sad to hear about. Her junkie mom as well, and her grandma's in the hospital on the verge of a heart attack. Like, her life, no offense, Jade, this is nothing against you, it's just an observation, but your life seems so like just heavy, just so dark and heavy. And I really, really empathize with her because I wouldn't know how to handle so much just like sadness, grief, and just drama on like a constant basis. We find out something pretty nasty, which is that Big Gulp apparently starts trying to like gouge her eyes out when she like gets high. And I'm starting to wonder if she's on meth or something, because the meth people, aren't they the ones that are like picking at their faces and stuff? Like, oh. Meanwhile, in West Virginia, Leah fears that her dad might relapse with pain medication now that he has been diagnosed with cancer. And I definitely do understand why she would be concerned about that. And something that she also reveals about like how they caught this so late in her father, it was because he was already on so much pain medication that he never even really noticed that he had any sort of pain or issue. But like now that he's not on them, he's feeling it, and it's hard. There was like a moment where he was having a hard time even getting into the car. He had to like sit down, catch his breath a little bit on the ground, like crouch down before he got up. And it's like, wow, just to think that you were taking so much medication that you didn't even know that your body was reacting this way is just absolutely insane to think. Over in California, the doctor suggested getting Ryder into yoga to help her manage her anxiety and panic attacks that are being caused by her rhythmic heartbeat. And Cheyenne is all for it. Ryder is all for it. So she reaches out to Corey to see if he and his family would be able to keep up with a routine when Ryder is with them. It doesn't really seem like he cares for it that much, but at least Ryder enjoys it. And she's going to be able to do that with Cheyenne over at her house, which is where I think she spends the majority of her time anyway. So thank goodness for that. Back in West Virginia again, Leah has a very, very beautiful conversation with her father about staying strong, avoiding relapsing and everything. And I think it's just so special that, like, obviously it's terrible that they both battled addiction at a certain point in their lives or are still battling it. But it's nice in the sense that, like, they get it, right? It's not someone lecturing you about something they don't understand. Like, she gets it. She was heavily dependent for a while. So was he. And this is something that, like, okay, like, I feel like it means more when someone has been in the trenches with you. In fact, the two of them were doing rugs together. So, like, they've really been in the trenches together, and now they're on, like, a more positive side of things. So I'm really happy that they have each other as a support system. Back up in Indiana, Gary and Christina talk to Leah about the adoption, and Leah tells them that she's scared it'll trigger Amber into making things difficult for them, or to just it will upset her. Leah says that she's not somebody who wants to upset people, and so she's concerned about her mom's feelings in that regard. And that makes me sad for her, because it's like, listen, she's such a sweet little angel. Like, why are you, your mom has abandoned you. The attorney said that your mom abandoned you, right? Like, she's not bothered about paying for your upkeep and your child support and stuff and your future. And you're still worried about her feelings if you were to get adopted by your real mom, the person who really has been there stepping up for you, right? Like, she's so, so special. But I hate that she has the weight of all of this on her shoulders. Now, back in West Virginia, there's a moment where Leah and her daughters are sitting in bed talking about the situation with her father. She's announcing to them that he's got cancer and everything. And the jump scare that I had when they panned out, because this whole time I thought that Leah was sitting there in bed with the twins. And then all of a sudden they pan out and you got Addie over there in the background. I said, who the hell is that? And then it hits me and I'm like, wow, they've really minimized her screen time. Do y'all remember there was a time where Leah was trying so hard to push her as the next big thing? I also felt like she was like coaching Addie to play up her like personality in a way that I thought was going to be detrimental to her in the future. I didn't like the direction they were going in with her. And I think that like she's been reining it in. And so you're not really seeing much of Addie anymore, which is quite surprising to me, because I am curious about what's going on with her, how her relationship with the twins is and just all that. But I don't know, like they've kind of quietly almost edited her out. In fact, last season, she was a big part of Leah's storyline because of the confrontation with Jeremy and how she was navigating her custody of Addie in light of that. But this season, you're not really seeing too much of her. And I do find that to be rather, I don't know, very interesting. And then when we close out the episode, here we are at Jade's home. It's time for the intervention on Big Gulp Christie. And one thing that really stuck out to me was how they brought a bunch of children there. Like, oh my God, that was so crazy. By the way, shout out to you, Big Gulp, for bringing your very own Big Gulp to your intervention, unbeknownst to you. And, as predicted, there was a lot of screaming and cursing about drugs in the presence of minors, right? Like they put the kids upstairs, but when you're screaming, and y'all know how these North American homes are built out of paper and sticks, like the kids can hear you screaming upstairs. So that's why I'm saying in the presence of children, right? Like they're just screaming about these drugs and just swearing and all sorts of things. It was very trashy. I'm sorry. It was extremely trashy. And then per usual, Big Gulp storms out and denies using any rugs as if she was just gouging her eyes out for fun. Girl, bye. Goodbye. And so we were talking about this in the last recap that I did of, I forgot what episode it was, but how Big Gulp is always wearing that one tired gray shirt with like the black designs on it. Please, Big Gulp, retire the shirt, let it rest. It's working harder than the slushy machine or the soda machine over at Big Gulp. Where do you get those things, y'all? Is that from like a 7-Eleven, a convenience store or something? Anyway, now we're into the most recent episode of Teen Mom Next Chapter, where we are picking up at this intervention, yelling, screaming with the children upstairs. And I gotta say, Big Gulp stresses me out. I do not know or understand how her family deals with her. I would have gone no contact by now. Absolutely. You were not coming into my life, dragging me down with all of your rug use, your denial of your rug use, your screaming, just asking me for help all the time. Like, sorry, but like, get your life together, then come back. Like, you are my parent. I am not your parent. Like, stop it. Right. I really wish that Jade would draw this line in the sand, but I got to be honest with you. I do think that she is somebody who's addicted to chaos in her own way, right? Because if she wanted a peaceful life free of drama and free of stress, or like with minimal drama and minimal stress, she would not still have Big Gulp Christie running through her life. She would not have married Sean either. You know, granted, he is doing better, but after all of the drama that they had, she would have bounced a long time ago on that man. By the way, what is he doing? Wasn't he like doing studying to do some kind of thing like home inspections? Is he actually working in home inspections? Because I haven't really heard much of anything since. I know he like got the certification, but I don't know what else he's like. Is he working? I don't know. So over in Florida, Mackenzie is getting ready to get her embryos implanted. They're going to put 2 embryos, hoping to, you know, have 1 pregnancy. And so one of her friends comes all the way from Oklahoma to be there for this moment. And she is just absolutely adorable. This girl has never missed the birth of any of Mackenzie's children. And she's here for the embryo transfer as well. Like a true ride or die friend. You love to see it. Over in California, Cheyenne and Zach have been trying to get pregnant for 7 months, but it is not working this time around. And so they want to speak to a fertility specialist to figure out what could be the problem. And then in Florida, again, BRIANA lets us know that Devon is only contacting Nova once in a while. There's no consistent schedule, and like he can go very like long periods of time without contacting her, which is weird because I think Nova has her phone, and then we know that Devon has a phone. So like to not even just be like texting her on a daily or something like that is very, very odd, or at least like, you know, a couple times a week, right? Like I find that odd, you know, like with I have friends that I text every single day. Then I have other friends that I text like, you know, a couple times a week, and then others like more sporadic. But like, you know, I feel like your child should be on the level of like a close friendship, right? Where you text that person every single day or something. Like very, very weird. So BRIANA worries about this causing Nova abandonment issues. And so she wants for this to be brought up in the therapy classes that are therapy sessions that Nova takes right now, which I think is a good idea to look into that a little bit more. Now, I gotta say, when I saw Mackenzie over there getting ready for this embryo transfer, I said, I thought you said you wanted to be married before having a child. Like, what are you doing here? Getting ready to have a child with your glorified boyfriend. Like, okay, you know, it felt like he and she were going to at least like do like a little courthouse. You don't have to have a big wedding to be married, right? You can have a cute little courthouse thing. I love courthouse weddings. I love elopement weddings. I love microwave. I like, you know, you can do something small and quick, especially because this is going to be Mackenzie's second marriage or wedding, and then like, you know, Kez has some family like abroad and stuff. So like, you know, if you know, the thing in this relationship, I feel like Mackenzie's doing a lot of bending, and we're not really seeing too much of that from his side. Like he gave her the ring just to get her to go and have his kid, and he has not mentioned the wedding since, which is something that she mentioned 2 episodes ago at this point, which I find to be very sus. Like I already find it very sus that this man is willing to gamble her health. Right? This is a huge risk for her to be pregnant. He's willing to gamble all of that, but not marry her at all. At the very least, you know, even if you were to marry her first, like it's still just the fact that he's willing to gamble with her life is crazy to me. And the fact that Mackenzie's willing to go along with this when she's got 3 children, 3 fatherless children, is also insane to me. But I digress. So, you know, speaking of, does she have any provisions in place for her children, you know, in the event that something happened? Because again, they talked to like the doctors, the consultants, everybody told her like ad nauseum that this is a huge risk. So I'm wondering if she has any kind of like backup plan in place for her children. I hope everything goes well. Je touche le bois. I'm knocking on wood that everything is okay for her, but it's very, very concerning. Now, back in Las Vegas, Ashley is looking into ways to maintain Holly's relationship with Bar while he's behind bars. Thank you. Thank you. I'm here all night. Holly is granted a video call with him later that day. And, you know, she's just such a sweet and smart girl. I really like her. And the way she talked to Ashley about it, she's like, thank you for my phone call. If it wasn't for you, I wouldn't have been able to talk to my dad. I really appreciate it. I said, girl, like, I love that. She's so sweet. She's so smart. I love that girl. Now, in Florida, BRIANA is telling us that Nova no longer wants to talk to her about Devon. So obviously that is a very sore spot. She's really going through it when it comes to her father. And I find that to be extremely devastating. Roxanne consoles BRIANA about this, and she tells her that she's a good mom. And I gotta be honest with you guys. At first I said, that's really sweet, Roxanne, that you said that. I'm sure that BRIANA appreciates it, right? But then there's something that happens later, which is just We'll talk about it when we get there. Okay. So let's put a pin in it. And I'm going to talk to you about something that like BRIANA did concerning Nova that made me rather uncomfortable. Okay. So by the way, speaking of Roxanne, how did we just skip over like the whole Roxanne is like a rug addict storyline? Like, you know, that was a huge deal last season. And then like this season, they bring her around. They say, oh yeah, we got that under control. No updates, like no nothing. Was it a real storyline? I don't know. Very, very, very weird. Up north in Indiana, Jade says that she's finally washing her hands of all of the drama with her mom, but listen, the girl does this every season. Every season she's making these claims that she's done, like no more drama for her. But like I said, she's addicted to the drama. She needs the drama. I don't know if it's to feel important or to feel alive or to just have something to do, but she likes it. She's not done. She's not washing her hands of shit. Sorry, Jay, but we all know like next season is going to be the same old thing. You're going to be crying about how everybody stresses you out, and we're supposed to feel bad for you, even though you're a grown-ass woman who can place boundaries and cease communication with these nonsense people, right? So anyway, let's talk about sperm. Zach is ordered to give a sample to the fertility doctor. He had one job and the man missed the cup. Okay. We find out that Cheyenne has a lot of eggs, so that's good news. Zach also has a lot of sperm. However, his sperm doesn't really swim. And so that might be the reason why they're having issues conceiving. And it might be rooted in his lifestyle. He's smoking a lot of pot. Shout out to those of you guys who think that there's nothing wrong with smoking a lot of pot, despite, you know, the health implications that it can have, right? Case in point. So the specialist or the doctor said that he had to stop that and then continue to live like a balanced, healthy lifestyle. So exercise, eating right, and then see how that works before coming back in for a follow-up appointment. And apparently this guy got high in the morning before this appointment too. And I found that to be very weird. In fact, I want to go back and watch and see if he drove there. I do have to say that sorry to Zach that this is going on, but, it can be corrected with lifestyle changes. However, I did appreciate that they showed that fertility issues, we already know this, but it's not shown enough. But, sometimes even half the time they can be caused by men, like it's always all the pressure is on women. Oh, like what's wrong with her? Is it because she's too old? Is it because of this? Is it no, let's take a look at him and how he's living his life, Put the crack pipe down, put the weed down. Don't drink so much, move a little, exercise, eat right. Like, these are very important things to talk about on television because, again, the pressure is always on the woman. The blame is always on the woman. So it's very interesting and nice and educational to see that, like, that's not always the case, right? Everything was looking good on Cheyenne's end. And the good thing about what's going on with Zach is that just lifestyle adjustments and he'll get there. So let's get into Florida again, shall we? Remember how earlier I said it was really sweet how Roxanne encouraged BRIANA, telling her that she's a great mom and stuff. There was a decision that she made this episode that it disappointed me, I'll say. I don't want to use language that's too strong, but it disappointed me. You know how she told us that she was going to have the whole abandonment issue be a topic of Nova's therapy sessions, right? I thought we were going to just leave it at that. We don't need to know anymore, right? That already is too much, but we don't need to know anymore. Let's leave it there. However, now she decides to share that the therapist said, hey, wow, I just had a session with your daughter. We need to talk one-on-one about some of this stuff. So I said, okay, I don't like that you told us this, because if a therapist is flagging something, they're telling you that this is something that's troubling, traumatic even for your child. And that's between you and your child. So why are you up here on television telling us what your therapist said about your daughter, the stuff that your daughter shared in confidence with her therapist, right? And so she rattles off all the information. And I feel uncomfortable even bringing, sometimes these moms, they put stuff on the show where I'm like, how do you so easily expose this about your child? This is not my child. And I feel uncomfortable at the thought of even bringing this kind of detailed information out, like the stuff that Mackenzie's putting out there about her son, that like disgusting storyline that she's using, about him. And now the stuff that BRIANA is sharing about Nova, the issues that she's having with Devon and everything, like the therapist, like, I feel like these kids might grow up with a distrust of therapy, because when you're sharing, like, you're led to believe that all of this stuff is shared in confidence, right? But when you're a child and then this stuff is being shared with your mom, I think it could be something that, like, you understand, like, hey, like, blah, blah. But then when your mom is sharing this on television, and these kids are always going to be known, they're always going to be famous kids, right? Because of the platform and just like the way the chips or the cards fell for them. So I imagine that they're going to develop like a permanent distrust of therapists after all of this. Because to me, like, I can't imagine opening up about this sort of thing, and then my therapist telling my, mom, right? Which is normal. And when a child is going to therapy, right, they're supposed to be reporting to the parents if anything is of particular concern. But then for your mom to turn around and blast it on television to the dozens of people who watch to watch your show, like, that's not pizza party behavior. Let's just leave it at that. I didn't like it. So basically, you know what? Listen. Devon's absence in Nova's life is really, really greatly, deeply, is very deeply affecting her negatively. There are certain things that she wants to have happen, certain levels of contact with his family and him that she wants. She doesn't like that he moved out of Florida, like these sorts of things, right? So BRIANA shares all of that. And then she says that she wants to bring it up to Devon, but she's scared that it'll lead to a fight because that's typically how things go. Devon is rather dismissive of her and their daughter. And so it's a tough place to be in. But again, I don't like that she put that on television. She should not have. She should have just said there are certain things and then later just, started working on other things like alongside, and then let people kind of put two and two together instead of just full blown exposing her. Why don't we wrap up with Mackenzie getting those embryos inserted? They're hoping that it's not going to be twins because it's going to be, one baby is already really complicated and, risky for her to carry. But twins would be really, risky as well. So they're really hoping that everything goes according to plan there. And then finally in Vegas, to wrap up the episode, Ashley and Holly start coloring photos together after Holly's call with Bar, because she wants to give Holly the opportunity to send him like a photo that he can keep in his cell room. And is that what they call them? Cell rooms? Cell, in his cell. And so that was really sweet that she went through all of this, like, for her daughter. I imagine it's already really difficult having to facilitate this, given how badly Bar has hurt her over the years. But she's doing this for her daughter, and it's just really selfless of her. And I definitely admire her for that. Anyway, guys, let me know what you thought about these episodes of Teen Mom Next Chapter. Per usual, I will be in the comments section to chitter chatter with you guys about what y'all thought about it. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. And I'll see you in my next video. Bye, guys.